Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. We fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep
On this episode of Cigars and Sea Stories, Bennett and Mike sit down to discuss what's coming up for 2017 here, folks. Bennett, what do you got? He's like, nothing.
Nothing. Nothing.
We've got a lot.
Same old shit, different fucking years, a different day. No, dude, so there's a lot with us, with Warrior Hall. I'm just going to be a busy mofracky.
Hell yes. Well, then it's all going to be positive here, folks. 2017
oh, yeah, hardcore.
is going to be fantastic. So let me tell you, we're making adjustments all the time to Cigars and Sea Stories. You know, little tweaks behind the scenes. We're bootstrapping this thing. We've got other day jobs.
You ain't bullshit.
That's why we appreciate it when you subscribe, rate, and review.
So I posted this picture of Leonardo DiCaprio from The Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, yeah.
When he was given like one of his speeches or something. And it says 2015 was practice. 2016 was warm up. 2017, it's game time. So that's kind of in my head. That's kind of how I'm approaching this stuff.
Right.
This shit.
Well,
and right now I'm watching my nephew and my daughter. Holy hell. Did you hear that or not?
No.
All right. So my daughter and my nephew are shooting each other with Nerf. It's not Nerf though. It's something else, but they're bows. They're long bows.
Okay.
With like foam tipped arrows.
Do we need to pause?
No. It's fun to watch them freaking try and slaughter each other.
Okay. Well, if you guys
on that note,
if you guys are wondering what the hell we're talking about here, go ahead, listen to a couple of past episodes. You'll realize that we are clinically insane. Coming up here for 2017, we are going to open a storefront. So we've got some different pieces of gear that are coming up. We would sure appreciate your comments. Tell us what you'd like in the store. Do you want books? Do you want gear? Do you want accessories? Kind of give us your comments on this. We, of course, have a couple of products in mind that are going to go into the store, but we love your feedback. So many of you have already gone on to iTunes or your Android podcast service providers and have given us great reviews. Thank you so much for that. We do appreciate it. If you are a veteran who are adding value to the world and you want to be on the show, go ahead, get in touch with us. If you're a veteran and you're like, hey man, could you give us an intro to one of these people who's on the show? Yeah, no problem. That's the whole point. It's our little corner of the world. So please share with all of our fellow veterans that are out there. 2017 is going to be a huge growth year, not just for the podcast, but I feel for veterans as a whole, man. I mean, this is shocking. It's in a positive way for where our economy, I think, is going, on an American scale, as far as with Trump being elected, with these Marines, being brought into the cabinet. I mean,
yeah, I think it can. I think it could be.
I think it could be.
I think that we need to make sure that they play a part in it. And don't just ignore it and take it for granted that it's going to get better, and jump on it. So, along those lines, you have a lot of guys that whine about the VA, right? Rightfully so. But I can tell you this from experience now, my wife has been the last part of this year, and still isn't better.
Sorry, you're breaking up there. Your wife was what?
My wife has been sick this last part of this year, right? Yeah. Am I still breaking up?
Nope, you're good.
All right. So she's been sick this last part of this year, and we've been dealing with forms and fashion specialists and whatnot. So I can tell you that the civilian side of this whole medical, plethora of craziness that we have in the medical branch of, or what do you want to call it? The medical,
right. The medical side of things in general.
Yeah. The medical side of things in general is not any greener, folks.
Right.
Not really.
Well, that's why. See, I have a tendency to keep my mouth shut in regard to that stuff.
And I'm sick of it, man. I mean, I can't believe that it's literally as though my wife became a patient of the VA. There's no general practitioners out there anymore. You literally have to go to figure out what's wrong. We've literally had to go to like 6 different doctors. It's insanity.
Because they're all specialized.
It's insane. Right. It's insanity.
Right.
And none of, I mean, we've had, all right. So my wife was at a point where she could not walk. Okay. Wow. 36-year-old, one of the, yoga fiend, freaking one of the most healthiest people that I know. I mean, you've met her.
Right.
Mike,
yeah.
Wonderful
woman.
0 health issues. One day she can't turn her head. About a week later, she's at a point where she can't even fucking walk. Okay. But I have a doctor, her GP, her general practitioner is like, oh, well, you need to go see this doctor, and this doctor. Well, one of the doctors, we couldn't even get an appointment until April.
Jesus.
So you explain to me how that's any better than the VA.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So we were like,
specialty care.
Screw it. And so we've looked at other alternative stuff, but this is a big gripe just going into 2017. And this is one of those things that we as veterans can help mold and shape the way our country is going. Okay. By getting involved, frankly. I mean, I understand that we've given our blood and everything to this country, but you know what? They need the leadership, folks.
Well, right.
And that's all I'm trying to say is let's not allow this opportunity to go to waste, because I'm telling you, man, the healthcare system is slowly eroding. And it's almost like, because it's almost like a single payer system at this point. And it truly is. I mean, if you want to know what a single payer system looks like, look at the VA.
Yeah.
And frankly, at this point, I'm getting better care at the VA in Syracuse than my wife is getting at doctors in and around Syracuse. Pretty fucking scary, folks.
See, and
okay?
I think
so. The grass isn't greener. The grass is not greener on the other side.
Oh, right.
Unless you have an awesome doctor, which are far and few in between. I'm telling you, don't believe the hype. Okay. It's all going down. We're all one giant ship, and it's kind of floundering right now a little bit, folks. So that's just my 2 cents going into this new year.
But I think that it's also correctable.
For sure.
I mean, that's policy. That's
absolutely. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It's policy. Let's not let this opportunity go by the wayside.
Right.
And I don't know what kind of crack people are smoking, but it is not good.
Well, and it's like, I was talking to somebody about their strategy for 2017, right? And ours aligns with this, right? And this is kind of what I'm hearing from a lot of other people. Q1 coming out of 2016 and all of the money and everything else that poured into the election cycle and rewriting the ship coming through, you close your books and the whole 9 yards. And it's really like a building phase throughout Q1, a launching phase throughout Q2, and then pushing through growth through the end of the year. At least that's what a lot of people are hoping for. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's a basic strategy.
Right.
But the reason why they're hoping for it is because they're hoping that in the first, 120, 180 days, a lot of these policies that are hindering our healthcare system to an extent, while it might be helping some people, it's hindering the greater. So there might be something there as far as decentralizing where a lot of these specialists go to. And I usually keep my mouth shut on this stuff because my parents are in the healthcare field. And so I get a lot of the back channel communications that are going on. And that's what I hear all the time. It's like, hey, Mike, the grass isn't always greener on this side.
It is not.
And they're taking care of you for your service-connected disabilities. And there you go.
So it's like for me with I've had very good civilian healthcare as well.
Yeah.
But then if I thought about it, my wife brought up the best point. I've never had anything serious. So it's just routine healthcare.
Right.
They're really good at it. It's just fine because it's literally going in and out. I've got this little ache or I've got this little pain. I've got this little tweak. Maybe I have to get surgery on my shoulder or something.
Right.
And that's easy. It's boom. They write a consult, give me some painkillers. I go to this doctor. It's fine. The problem runs into, and this is one of those things, is it comes into overall health. And I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, Mike, because you and I have talked about it in other episodes, and we'll probably talk about it in future episodes. But as soon as, because of the way our shit is in this nation with our food system, people are getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So autoimmune diseases are popping up all over the place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got this autoimmune issue, right? Doctors are trying to approach it from a medical standpoint, and it's outside their wheelhouse, frankly. It's more of a nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
It's more of a nutritional point. Okay. Stop eating processed foods, stop eating, inflammatory things, stop drinking so much damn alcohol, blah, 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 blah. Right. But your doctor, who is supposed to be able to be the point man on this, because if insurance is going to help you with it, they have to be, right?
Right.
So as soon as you take that out of the equation now, and they don't even have a nutritionist. They don't even have a basic idea of nutrition to be able to help you with a lot of these things. And I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I'm just saying there's a lot to be changed with the way we approach healthcare in this country.
Well, I think a lot of it's preventative through education also.
Correct. It's actual prevention, or the fact is that, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I just can't, because I'll be like a fucking broken record. So
that's the thing is, in 2017, I think a lot of this stuff, and I'm not trying to speak generalities or anything else like that. Everybody makes their New Year's resolutions, right? So one of mine is not just taking better care of myself, but it's the well-rounded care, right? I'll like kind of, I get lopsided to whatever extent. Like I spend a whole bunch of time reading, and then I spend a whole bunch of time, going out and doing walks and all sorts of different stuff like that, or exercise in general and stuff. And it's lopsided. It's not this exercise of mind, body, and soul, and kind of keeping up with everything else and that preventative stuff. And that includes learning how to live better. But that's not like it's not like a crunchy kind of live better. It's
no.
what is right? Exactly. It's like, how do I live smarter? It's the smarter, not harder. So it's adapting all of those same field skills. Like, that's what I've started to realize as I've only been on the Corps for 4 years now. So I'm learning and adapting. And every time you go out to the field, you learn a little bit more, right? You learn from old salts who have been around, or guys who have just been out. Like, I remember when I was a boot and my senior leadership had already had, 2 combat deployments to Iraq and everything else. And I'm just like, holy shit, these guys are gods. And it's because they were straight out of SOI, went into the initial invasion, and then they did a deployment to Al-Qaim as well. And so a lot of these guys knew like Corporal Dunham, and stuff. And I was just like, oh, dear God. And so you learn from these individuals who are the best, at that moment, especially within the Marine Corps and that unit and everything else. And you learn the little tips and tricks and everything. We'll apply that same thought process. Like, okay, I wanted to be around the best as far as entrepreneurs are concerned. Now, geographically speaking, I really love living where I live. So I wanted to be around these individuals, but you look, listen, feel, learn every single day. Lessons learned to be shared across the board as far as veterans and entrepreneurship.
Right.
But it's one of those where it's like you're growing as an individual and adapting and overcoming and applying each one of those different little field skills. So it's learning how to live better, smarter, more efficiently, more effectively, how to do better with our time overall. But it's applying a lot of that methodology that I learned from the military, man. I mean, you're so ingrained. It's not even like, people ask me all the time, they're like, why do you use your op order thing? Like, I've had fellow Marines ask me, why do you use an op order in order to plan stuff still? And I'm like, it's not because I love it. It's because I know it.
Yeah, it's because you'll get flat tired all the time. Like,
right.
I would never do that. Like, who wants to use that? Well, no. Why wouldn't you? It's because you're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Because you can literally apply it to almost any situation and any framework or any piece of your life, including, which you and I have talked about, ourselves.
Right. Absolutely. Well,
and I know that's kind of what you're getting at.
To an extent. I mean, that's what's going to be coming up this year is you and I both have more speaking engagements that we're going to be doing this upcoming year. We have more upcoming public appearances and different things like that revolve around veterans and entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be going out and doing a lot of stuff with Bunker Labs. I'm going to be speaking on the subject of getting into the mix as far as like getting outside of the building with that op order essentially in hand and being able to go and practically apply something that you learn and then take it back and go, okay, lessons learned on this, and go through it. So, which there's all sorts of different pieces of literature that you pick up along the way and read and consume as much and study as much as possible. So a lot more of that. But it's applying everything that we learned in the military. I mean, that's one of the things about Cigars and Sea Stories that I love so much is that it is a time for us to bullshit the way that we do as veterans, but it's also to share in a smoke pit environment, right? So the debrief is done. That's fine. We've shared everything from a technical and tactical standpoint. That's cool. But now when we're facing inboard, there are a couple of little lessons learned, composure-wise, right? I mean, like, I've had a negotiation debrief after a debrief before, which was kind of a funny sea story in unto itself. Because I was booed as shit, and I did not know how to put elements together, so to speak. I just needed to go over to this other patrol leader and be like, hey, brother, we're pushing down here, and we're good, and, yep, just follow us. But instead, I went over with this, like, I'm bringing somebody else's authority, and I'm like, hey, Staff Sergeant wants you to follow us over here. And the guy's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And what it was is I needed to basically negotiate their help as far as with their trucks that they had. They had a specialized variant of trucks in order to help out with another mission, but we would be pulling security for them. And the reason why it was a negotiation is because at the end of the line, they would be going to a better patrol base than what we're at right now. But it would be a little hairy along the line, but they had Marines with them, right? So I showed up saying, hey, Staff Sergeant wants you to follow us, and then you're going to be at this other cop. Like, it was total bitched out. It was bad, dude. It was so bad. But that just happens, right? So the debrief after the debrief, we were just sitting down smoking and joking, and I think it was Staff Sergeant. It might have been my sergeant who was standing right there or something along those lines. Because it was my section leader and it was my platoon sergeant, and they were like, hey, let me tell you something, all right? The next time that you talk to somebody outside of our unit, you will remove the cock from your mouth, okay? Not mumble and stumble all over yourself.
Get the marbles out of your mouth.
Right. You're gonna walk up and you're going to tell them exactly what the fuck we're doing. And then if they ask why, for any reason, you can either tell them to kill more bad guys or, here is this deliverable, essentially. They didn't say deliverable,
right?
But you give them the good news, right? So it was like this weird, stupid negotiation debrief afterwards. It was, dude, it was one of those, I was so boot when I was overseas on my first tour. Like, I was so boot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 19 years old, and there was weird personal stuff, like, I had a kid on the way. I mean, it was just stupid and young. But I was like, okay, take care of the truck and do whatever the fuck that guy says. Essentially, like, I tried to Forrest Gump it because you don't have a brain yet. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I would love to share more sea stories of dumbass Mike Penny failing all of the time. So that's probably what you're going to hear out of me more often than not moving forward. It's going to be like jump roping with a big ass tow rope, which I have a video of. That could have killed me. Legitimately. If that hit me in the side of the head, that could have killed me. We were jump roping out in front of the hooch, and then I went to jump out of the thing, and they caught me just on the tip of my boot, and it flung me ass over tea kettle through the air. I mean, it flipped me onto my back. It was, I need to dig that video up. I bet I have that somewhere. Right. I have to. I know the guys who were holding the ends of the rope, and they shared the video with me on Facebook not too long ago, so I've got to get that. It'll be 19-year-old boot Mike Penny fucking up all the time, because that's when you learn, right?
It is. Sure freaking is. Well, my big focus this year is I actually have two huge ones, other than our Cigars and Sea Stories stuff, which will be unveiled in due time. A lot of what we're doing, product wise and books and fun stuff, but also with my other babies, Warrior Hall. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it just ties into the veteran community as an entity, which Cigars and Sea Stories is a huge part of, is two different projects. One of which is I guess for lack of a better way to describe it, it's a veterans healing farm, where I live, and basically creating a CSA type community service agriculture for veterans and their families, where a veteran can come on Saturday and basically pick vegetables and help tend a huge, I guess you could call it a garden, but it's going to be a monstrosity of a garden, and pick up vegetables for the week for their family.
That's awesome.
That's grown, using good techniques without all the bullshit pesticides and everything else. So it's healthier for their families. Plus it's going to be cheaper than them going to the grocery store and buying, I'm telling you that people don't eat fresh fruit and vegetables because it's too damn expensive in a lot of cases, right? And unless you have like farmers markets where you can go buy like a bag of cucumbers for, $1 or $2, people aren't buying tons of fruits and vegetables at the grocery store. And a lot of people, I hear it every day. I buy a head of lettuce and it's bad 2 days later. Well, that's because it was shipped from Chile.
Right.
Or California, if you're on the East Coast. You know what I'm saying? And it's been in a container for the last 15 days.
It's yucky.
And it's got like 2 days of freaking life left in it. And then you're feeding your family rotting vegetables. So it's like, everyone knows this. Everybody knows this, but yet nobody knows how to fix it, right? Or they don't want to take the time to fix it. So that's what I'm doing with this. All right. At least for my local community.
Are you going to be smoking and joking whilst doing that?
Yes, of course. Good. So Saturdays, and this is why, because the normal work week is Monday through Friday, right? Now, if you have other days that you can come, then that's fine, because I will set up times when people can like come by on their way home from work. You know what I mean? On like a Wednesday afternoon and grab a box of vegetables or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this will all be worked out.
Beautiful.
For minimal cost. Basically at cost is basically what it's going to be. Which, anyway. So that's a huge project, obviously, for the year. And it's not going to even be like full-fledged running this year. It'll be more of a, let's see how this works. And then 2018 will be the big push. You know what I mean?
Beautiful.
But it's going to get done this year. I've already got the seeds. I've already got a ton of fruit, shrubs and trees that are being donated or sold to us at cost. So within the next 2 years, we'll have a full functioning fucking growing grocery store, basically.
Very cool.
For veterans and their families.
To come and smoke and joke at.
And then on Sundays, and I get this part of it, part of it from the Mashies at Veterans Healing Farm in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is every Sunday during the season, we'll do like a potluck get together where just bring a dish and we all play horseshoes, sit around the fire pit, smoke and joke, have some adult beverages if that's your choice. You know what I mean? But involve the whole family. So not just the veterans, but their families as well. And basically, as the Mashies put, cultivate community through, this experience.
Fantastic.
And I think it'll be quite popular. And you know what? Who cares? Even if only 5 people are involved, that's 5 veteran families. That's a fire team. That's you and your fire team getting together on the weekends with your whole families and having a barbecue.
That's awesome.
So we're talking about the small, even if I can influence the smallest element within our unit, isn't that what it's about?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So there you go. So that's project 1. Project 2 is really reaching out to the greater veteran population in a more smoking and joking, therapeutic, peer support way, with a little more anonymity for the veterans, because I'm finding veterans just don't want to expose themselves to stuff. So if you tell a veteran to come out and, let's meet, and here we'll have a group, a lot of guys don't want to come out because they don't want to talk about their bullshit. They just don't.
Right.
But if you could set it up where if you've got issues, but you don't need to come in person somewhere, or you can jump on either a Skype call without video or a conference call with like 3 or 4 other guys and talk about whatever you want to fucking talk about. I think, guys, that's a toehold. You know, us infantry guys, it's a foothold. Mm-hmm. And that's what needs to happen, because a lot of guys they're just not talking about stuff that they need to talk about with other guys, and just being themselves anymore. They're bottled up. This is all from my own experience too. Been there, done that. Got the t-shirt.
Well, and right, but the way that you fucking put that, it sounded at first rather dark, and I know exactly what you mean. It's fucking dudes are not standing around bullshitting the way that we were standing around bullshitting before, which is a stress reliever.
Absolutely.
So it's when you go out, like, not saying that everybody smokes or anything else like that, but when you go out to the smoke pit, everybody was standing around bullshitting the entire time. Y'all fucking hated it. I fucking hated sitting by the smoke pit. I hated that shit because it meant that it was like 17:30 and we needed to fill out a fucking recall roster or some shit. Yeah. And it was just stupid, right? But it was a time for commiseration, essentially. And so some of the best 96 plans I've ever made came out of some stupid, late, just ridiculous formation where it's like, hey man, we got a 96 coming up. What do you got any plans? You got
what do you got going on? What do you want to do?
Right? Are we going up to Big Bear? We're gonna fuck snow
and,
bunnies?
And it's one of these things, like if I can recreate that but in a virtual way, and I know there's organizations and people that have tried, but I think what happens is they get inundated with guys and gals that just want to bitch.
Right.
And I think that you have to allow an outlet for that, where people can get on and bitch. But if all you do is bitch, then it's perceived as whining and people don't want to deal with that shit.
Yeah.
Just like we did in the military. Nobody wants to fucking hang out with a whiner.
Yeah, no, fuck that.
So in turn, that's the balance that needs to be found. You know what I mean? So I think you need to have balance in the fact that, yes, you have to have an outlet where you've got guys. It's just, there has to be a process to deal with it. And so that's another one of my big projects, is to get this thing, like actual smoking and joking, but in a virtual sense, because I think guys will be more apt to do it. Not everyone, obviously, and some people are just going to still be like, yeah, fuck you, fuck that. But it's come to, I mean, a lot of the people that I've got real good relationships now with, and that I go to like DC to visit or to see, are people that I had never met face to face. You know what I mean? It's like, the next thing you know, it's like with a mastermind or something. Mm-hmm. You meet somebody and you click with them, and then the next thing you know, you're doing a fucking podcast with them.
Well, and that's really what you're talking about here.
That's exactly what I'm talking about, is that, but I want to create that for other vets to get those meaningful relationships. It doesn't have to be done face to face. And then the next thing you know, you're meeting up in Texas or a hog hunt.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or whatever.
Well, and I just want to clarify one thing. People ask me, what is a mastermind group? And to equate it to something in the military, I would say it's when the patrol leaders get together, and I'm going to use patrol leaders, not platoon commanders or leadership on a strategy level. I'm going to say on a tactical, hands-on, small unit leadership level, the patrol leaders get together and discuss enemy tactics and techniques, procedures, what's happening in the EAO right now, significant events, what just took place on their individual patrol. All the patrol leaders are sitting in on the debriefs of other patrol leaders. So that is the mastermind group, is you're taking a tactical sense on what you're doing. You know, but that's what's cool about mastermind groups, is that it's practical application. It's not bullshit, fluff, theory, ideas. It is applying something in order to get a desired end state achieved.
Right.
You know,
well, so it's basically like, yeah, we were in this exact same situation last week. Here's what we did. It was an utter failure. Don't fucking do that.
Yeah.
Here's something that might work instead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's literally what it is. It's kind of like subject matter experts coming together, or people that have just got different experiences coming together, bouncing something around in a circle, saying, how do we fix this, or how do we attack this, or how do we whatever. So that's essentially what a mastermind is. It's like, you as an entrepreneur, you have an idea, but we don't know if this idea is legitimate because it sounds good in theory, but what happens? So you take it to the mastermind, which is like 5-6 people, and you throw it in the middle and kick it around like a hacky sack.
Mm-hmm.
And see what it's like. I mean, everybody knows what a hacky sack circle's like, for the most part.
Fucking hippies.
You know what I'm saying? Long-haired hippies. You know what I'm saying now?
Right.
So that's basically what you're doing with ideas and whatnot. Now, good relationships can come out of that. So in essence, that's what I want to create. It isn't necessarily the master. I want to approach veteran relationships more kind of like a mastermind group, and then go from there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. See, there you go.
New
Year's resolutions.
It's hard to kind of explain, but it's clear when you actually just practice it and you do it. So I got to figure out, again, this is one of the goals, is figure out how to actually explain that to people in like a sentence versus 10 minutes of a podcast. So blah, blah, blah. Just community building shit. So,
there you go.
Yeah, man.
So we welcome you on this adventure. And if you would, click subscribe right now. Rate and review the show. You can find us on iTunes and all of the Android platforms. If you don't see us on your favorite platform to listen to podcasts, by all means, get in touch with us, and we will absolutely reach out to those folks. Make sure that we're on there. They have our RSS feed. If you would, go ahead, give us a review. 5 stars would be appreciated. And your thoughts on how we're doing here at Cigars and Sea Stories. We would greatly appreciate your comments, any shares that you may have. We've got a lot that's coming up in 2017. We're kind of holding our cards close to our vests. We're telling you, there's a store, there's going to be some efficiency talk, there's going to be some Mike as a boot talk, which it's the failures in life. People love the struggle. We're talking about how to take care of yourself as my co-host is hacking along. We're talking about getting together in mastermind groups, working together, collaborating. We're talking about leadership in 2017, which is something that is lacking. We're talking about navigating life as veterans and doing as much smoking and joking along the way. I mean, honestly, like on a working party, I was the dude who was like, are we done here? Is this good? Smoke them if you got them. This is bullshit. I'm just chilling out.
Absolutely.
Lance corporals get what? Lance corporals make up the majority of the Marine Corps, don't get me wrong, and are on the majority of the working parties that are out there. But I think that they're on like 3% lowest pay scale or something like that. Yeah. So I smoke and joke as often as possible. I was the guy who was trying to dodge as many working parties as possible because I was always fixing my truck. I was always improving or doing something on my truck because it would get me out of going and doing stupid shit. And if I improved my truck, well, that would like save our lives, I guess. So That was good. That was a good lesson plan.
Right.
All right, I'm rambling. You got anything else for the people?
I don't, not today.
Awesome. God bless America and no one else. And on that note, we cue the music.
Our flag unfurled to every breeze, from dawn to setting.